And last question, Mount Westmore, y'all out here cooking with that, but I saw a pic the other day of you and Dub C.
Yeah.
Is there ever a chance we could get a Westside Connection reunion with you, Dub, and Mack 10?
Probably not.
Damn.
Probably not.
What's your relationship? I mean, we always hear that you and Cube don't have much of a relationship, but is there any sort of like world in which you guys get together, maybe do another Westside Connection, have a conversation?
Like I said earlier, I fuck with who fuck with me. You dig? That's where I'm at with it. If you fuck with me, I fuck with you. But if it's fuck me, it's fuck. Like I fuck with who fuck with me, Kev. You know what I'm saying? And I ain't seen him.
In hip-hop, friendships fade fast. And that's exactly how it went down with Mack 10 and Ice Cube. At one time, they were side by side, running the West Coast as Westside Connection, hitting stages everywhere, stacking wins, and holding LA down with WC like it was locked in stone. The movement felt solid, untouchable even. But before long, the whole thing cracked. What started as real brotherhood slowly flipped into tension, and that tension grew into a fallout that's been dragging on for decades. Before Mack 10 ever linked with Ice Cube, he was already grinding heavy and carving out his own name in LA's hip-hop streets. Music wasn't some side hustle for him, it was the mission. He grew up on legends like NWA, watching how they stood tall for gangster rap and told raw, unfiltered stories straight from real life. That energy hit home for him. Those stories felt close. Not fake, not polished, but real. That influence lit a fire in him to build his own sound and speak from his own experience. Mack 10 started sharpening his craft, testing flows, building confidence, and searching for a voice that felt authentic. Eventually, he connected with a local rap group called First Amendment. That was his first serious doorway into the game. It wasn't just about rhyming anymore, it was about learning the studio grind, tightening up verses, and moving smart around producers and promoters. Being in that group gave him a real glimpse of what the rap life could actually look like. He wasn't just dreaming about success, he was stepping into it, piece by piece.
So what, like y'all, it's a problem with Mack?
Yeah, it's a problem. You know what I mean? It's
I like
it's a thing where
Modest is a motherfucker.
you know, it's just a violation that can't be overlooked.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll leave it at that.
First Amendment became his training ground, the spot where he turned raw talent into something dangerous and polished at the same time. As his buzz started moving through the city, Mack 10 wasn't just another local name anymore, he was stepping into bigger rooms. Industry insiders began noticing him, and he started shaking hands with people who really mattered. One of his first major looks came from Eazy-E, a founding force behind NWA. Eazy saw real potential in Mack early on and even had him write a few records. That kind of cosign wasn't small, it was powerful. When someone at that level shows belief in you, it changes everything. Getting that nod gave Mack 10 a serious confidence boost and opened doors that would have stayed locked tight. Through those growing connections, he linked up with respected DJs like Bobcat and DJ Pooh, names that already carried weight in the culture. These weren't random meetups, these were strategic moves, and those relationships led him straight to the lynch mob, Ice Cube's crew.
That term, like legacy artist, I feel like that's a good thing. That means that you're still here and you're still getting...
Hell yeah. You know, you still here, people still give a f. You know, I know, people gonna put titles on you when you've been around for decades, and that's cool, as long as they still paying attention.
Before long, Mack 10 found himself in the studio with Cube himself. The chemistry clicked instantly. The sessions felt natural, not forced, and they began stacking records together. That creative bond turned into something real when Mack joined the lynch mob on tour. Hitting the road with Cube meant bigger stages, louder crowds, and way more eyes watching. He kept putting in work on lynch mob tracks, building momentum step by step. Then in 1995, he scored a major placement on the Friday movie soundtrack. That was huge at the time. That one move alone put his name in front of a whole new audience. Cube also played a key role in helping Mack secure a deal with Priority Records, officially launching his solo career. From there, Mack 10 wasn't just rising, he was positioned for a serious takeover in the game. Even though Mack 10 and Ice Cube were moving as a unit, they came from totally different backgrounds.
I talked to him in damn near 20 years, so there it is.
That's so crazy. What about Dub C? Same.
With me, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, man, it's just...
Mack 10 wasn't just rapping about the streets for style points. He was raised in Queen Street, Inglewood, an area long known for deep gang ties. Growing up there meant being surrounded by that culture every single day. It wasn't something he picked up later for an image, it was part of the environment around him from the start. Back then, the streets were intense. The drug game was heavy, tensions were high, and rival groups were constantly clashing. LA County during that era had a serious reputation for danger. Mack 10 grew up seeing police raids, neighborhood conflicts, and the daily pressure that came with that lifestyle. That kind of environment leaves a mark. He wasn't studying street life from a distance or copying stories he heard. He was right there, living through it in real time. As he got older, that background shaped how people viewed him in the industry. Mack built a reputation as someone who stood firm and didn't back down easily. Folks knew he carried himself with a certain edge. He wasn't loud for attention, but he wasn't soft either. That tough image followed him into the music world and made people think twice before crossing lines. Because of that presence, Mack 10 often stood close to Ice Cube during tense industry moments. When Cube faced drama with other artists or business situations, Mack was usually right there, solid and ready to support. Just having him in the picture shifted the energy in a room. People understood that Mack wasn't just delivering tough lyrics on tracks, he carried himself with real-life confidence that made things feel serious. That's where the contrast between them gets hard to ignore.
Wow.
I don't want to do another Westside Connection.
Yeah.
Yep.
I saw Mack 10 on Vlad TV, and I always wonder what happened with that relationship.
When you get
He
him
tells
on,
his side, but
of course he do. Of course he do. I don't want to talk about it, to be honest, because he know what it is. That's all that need to matter to me.
right.
He know what it is.
All right.
Mack 10's story was rooted in rough surroundings, but Ice Cube's background looked very different. According to Cube's own biography, he was raised in a stable, middle-class neighborhood and went to some of the better schools in Los Angeles. He wasn't brought up in active gang zones, and he didn't grow up in the middle of constant street conflict. His early life was more structured and protected compared to the chaos many others experienced. Still, Cube built his entire music identity around raw street narratives. His lyrics came aggressive and bold, packed with gang references, anger toward police, and vivid stories about urban warfare. The energy felt intense and real, and fans connected with it heavy. His writing skills were sharp, cinematic even, painting pictures that sounded like first-hand experience. But as his fame grew, so did the questions. Some longtime figures from Los Angeles have claimed Cube was more of an observer than someone deeply involved in that lifestyle. They've suggested he studied what was happening around him and turned it into powerful art, rather than living every detail himself. That debate never fully went away. For people who truly endured that life, losing friends, facing jail time, or dealing with daily danger, those claims stirred strong emotions. Some felt uncomfortable seeing those stories turned into chart-topping records and major movie roles. They believed he was benefiting from a reality that brought real pain to others. On the flip side, supporters argue that storytelling has always been part of hip-hop, and Cube simply used his talent to reflect what he saw around him. Either way, the difference in their upbringings added a layer of tension that couldn't be ignored, especially once business, loyalty, and reputation all got mixed into the equation. Some people felt his gangster image was over the top and even disrespectful. They believed it looked like he was putting on street culture like a costume without carrying the real scars that came with it. In their eyes, Cube was presenting a polished version of the streets while being far removed from the daily risks and consequences. That perception stuck with certain critics for years.
Man, y'all got classics together, bruh.
I totally understand.
Classics.
I totally get it. But, I'm just the kind of guy that, I rock with who rock with me.
I respect that, man.
Yeah.
I think most people should live by that law.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Still, when most people hear the name O'Shea Jackson today, they think of a fearless rap icon or a strong Hollywood presence who brought that same tough energy to the big screen. His impact is undeniable. When you say Ice Cube, one word always pops up: influence. He played a major role in shaping what the world now calls gangster rap, and that lane changed hip-hop forever. Cube himself has often said he helped lay the groundwork for that gritty, confrontational sound. As a member of NWA, he became the lyrical backbone of the group. His pen was sharp, direct, and unapologetic. He delivered verses filled with political anger, street commentary, and bold statements that made people uncomfortable in the best way. That writing helped push NWA into legendary status and turned them into a cultural force that shook the industry. But here's where the contrast shows again. Unlike artists like Mack 10, Cube's experiences seem to come more from watching and analyzing than personally being in the middle of that chaos. He wasn't raised in constant street conflict. Instead, he observed what was happening around him, processed it, and turned those scenes into powerful music. That takes talent, no doubt. Alonzo Williams, founder of the world-class Wreckin' Crew and one of the first people to give Ice Cube real opportunities, has often described Cube as a smart, polite, and focused young man. Ambitious, articulate, driven, but not deeply involved in gang activity or street warfare. According to Alonzo, Cube was more of a student of his environment than a direct participant. There's nothing wrong with drawing inspiration from what you see around you. That's part of being an artist, but when you line Cube up next to someone like Mack 10, whose image was built from a very different lived experience, the difference in background becomes clear. And that difference would later add layers to their complicated dynamic.
A couple of quick things. Would you ever do a podcast?
Under the right circumstances.
Because I feel like if you were just like speaking on your perspective of current events or music, I just feel like it would be...
Yeah, I can make it work.
It's an 8-figure idea right there. You got to do it, man.
I can make it work.
And obviously there's been guys who have done it.
Mack came from a totally different reality, and by the time he and Cube officially teamed up, they had built a strong working bond that turned into Westside Connection with WC in the mix. On the outside, everything looked locked in. They were dropping heavy records, touring city to city, and standing tall for the West Coast at a time when regional rap tension was at an all-time high. This wasn't just music, it felt like a movement. They weren't just collaborators either. They moved like friends, like partners, like brothers tied together through beats and loyalty. But behind closed doors, pressure was quietly stacking up. The bond wasn't as unbreakable as it seemed. And when things finally fell apart, it wasn't about album splits, label contracts, or money disputes. According to Mack 10, it started with something way more personal: family. In a now-deleted 2010 interview with All Hip Hop, and later in a 2020 sit-down with DJ Vlad, Mack gave his version of what went wrong. He said Ice Cube's brother-in-law had shown him disrespect. Instead of reacting off impulse, which many people might have expected from someone with Mack's reputation, he chose a calmer route. That's what makes this twist wild. Mack claimed he tried to handle it the mature way. He said he went to Cube directly, not once, not twice, but 4 or 5 times, asking him to step in and smooth things out before it turned into something bigger. That wasn't a small detail. Mack made it clear he was trying to prevent drama, not create it. "I wasn't trying to start anything," Mack explained during the Vlad interview. If you go to somebody 5 times before it escalates, that shows you were trying to be diplomatic about it. Nobody wanted things to go to that level.
There's the right size of bag, though. Someone comes in with the right bag, you know, to do bow down 2.0.
I mean, I'm a businessman.
Yeah. You get the bag. You said you get to the bag.
I'm a businessman.
Yeah.
And it ain't never been me, you know, with the hold up. It ain't never been my personality or who I am with the hold up of us doing something. It ain't never been me as the hold up. You feel me?
That statement hits different when you remember who we're talking about. Mack 10 had built a reputation as someone fearless, someone who didn't scare easy and didn't back down under pressure. People saw him as confrontational, as a real street figure who would stand his ground no matter who was involved. So for him to say he kept trying to resolve things calmly adds another layer to the story. Because it involved Cube's family, Mack showed restraint. He didn't react fast. He didn't move reckless. He gave chance after chance, trying to keep it respectful. If it had been somebody else, the outcome might have looked very different. But this wasn't just anybody. This was tied to his partner's family. So he moved with patience. Still, even with all that effort to keep things calm, the situation eventually exploded. According to Mack, Cube's brother-in-law ended up getting beat up. That moment became the breaking point. After that, the energy shifted completely. The trust cracked, the communication fell apart, and the bond they built through Westside Connection never fully recovered. Over the years, Mack 10 has said he doesn't believe the situation was serious enough to destroy the group. From his perspective, it shouldn't have ended a whole movement. During a Q&A with All Hip Hop, he explained that nothing happened directly between him and Cube that crossed a line beyond repair. In his words, it wasn't some deep betrayal. Basically, I didn't do anything to him and he didn't do anything to me, Mack said. We had an argument, and I guess it was taken the wrong way because his wife was present. If she wasn't there, we'd probably still be doing records.
You know, calling nigga old school, OG, legacy, legend. You know what I mean? Just don't call me whack.
That quote adds a whole new layer. Mack suggested the tension may have escalated because of how it looked in the moment, especially with family present. He described it as a misunderstanding that spiraled way past where it needed to go. One heated situation turned into a permanent split. Even with all that, Mack has admitted he carries regret about how everything unfolded. In a 2011 interview with Vibe, he said he wasn't even sure if he and Cube would ever speak again. He's echoed that same feeling in later interviews, too. At the same time, he's made it clear he doesn't walk around holding grudges or feeding resentment. From his side, it sounds like disappointment more than anger, like something that could have been handled differently but never was. At the same time, rumors started spreading that Mack might have also been frustrated with Cube over business moves. One big rumor claimed Cube didn't want to go on a second tour to promote Westside Connection's final studio album, Terrorist Threats. Neither Mack nor Cube has ever fully confirmed that part, but it's one of the many theories people bring up when they talk about what really pushed things over the edge. There wasn't just one possible issue floating around, there were layers to it. While Mack has been open about telling his side, Ice Cube has mostly kept the details locked down. Whenever interviewers bring it up, Cube usually keeps his answers short and controlled. He often refers to a violation that happened, something he felt he couldn't ignore. And that word alone hits heavy. In street terms, a violation isn't small talk. It suggests a serious line was crossed, something that permanently changes how you look at a person. That choice of wording made fans read between the lines and wonder what really went down behind closed doors.
So what about I know I always see Dub C with you at your shows everywhere you go. Whenever I see you perform, or sometimes we be at the same place and just different times. Is the Westside Connection still together sometime?
Nah, we don't get down like that. You know, it's just me and Dub. Me and Dub, we from the same neighborhood. So
okay.
We grew up, you know, right around the corner from each other. So
Cube briefly addressed the situation during an appearance on It Is What It Is, hosted by Cameron. When asked why he only performs with WC and not Mack 10, Cube didn't avoid the question, but he didn't dive deep either. "Nah, we don't get down like that," Cube said. "It's just me and Dub." Short, direct, no extra details, but the tone said plenty. He made it clear that whatever happened was serious enough for him to completely separate and keep it moving. Meanwhile, Mack 10 hasn't backed away from speaking on it. In a 2023 interview with Bootleg Kev, he once again addressed their fallout, standing firm on how he sees the situation and making it clear he still views it as something that spiraled further than it ever needed to go. Mack has said he doesn't walk around with hate in his heart for Cube, but he's also not out here chasing a reunion. He's accepted how things played out. From Mack's point of view, he tried to handle the situation the right way. From Cube's side, a line was crossed that couldn't be uncrossed. That difference in perspective, two men seeing the same moment in completely different ways, is what's kept them separated for decades. For Westside Connection fans, that distance still stings. It's tough watching two artists who once stood shoulder to shoulder now move like strangers. Back in the day, they rode hard for each other, especially during industry conflicts. One of the most talked about moments was Cube's feud with Cypress Hill, and Mack stood firmly by Cube's side through that tension. The issue reportedly started around the Friday movie soundtrack, which Cube curated himself. One of the standout tracks on that project was Cypress Hill's Roll It Up, Light It Up, Smoke It Up. The group had agreed to include that song, and everything seemed smooth at first. But according to Be Real from Cypress Hill, things shifted during a studio session. While going over music for the film, Cube got an early listen to Cypress Hill's upcoming album, Temples of Boom. That's when he heard Throw Your Set in the Air, the lead single. Cube reportedly loved the track and wanted it included on the Friday soundtrack instead. From a business angle, that would have been a major look. Cypress Hill, however, declined respectfully. That song was a key record for their own album rollout, and they wanted to keep it exclusive to their project. Cube reportedly pushed the idea a little further and asked to hear it again, but the group stood firm. What may have seemed like a simple disagreement over a song soon turned into something much bigger than anyone expected. Cypress Hill played the record again, but they made it clear. That track was off limits. No deal, no switch, no last-minute changes. They were standing on business. Then the Friday soundtrack dropped, just ahead of Temples of Boom. At first, everything seemed normal, but then Be Real got a phone call that changed the energy completely. A friend of his had just heard a song on the soundtrack and sounded alarmed. He asked, "Did you let Ice Cube use one of your album tracks for Friday?" Be Real was confused right away. He explained they had only approved Roll It Up, Light It Up, Smoke It Up. That was the agreement, but his friend wasn't talking about that track. He was talking about another song that sounded way too close to Throw Your Set in the Air. At first, Be Real didn't want to jump to conclusions, but once he listened to Cube's record himself, his stomach dropped. The hook sounded almost identical to theirs, with only slight changes to the wording. The structure, the bounce, the vibe, it felt too familiar to ignore. Feeling betrayed, Be Real voiced his frustrations in the studio, and word traveled fast. Eventually, the tension reached Ice Cube through Mack 10. Cube decided to call Be Real directly to smooth things over. He reportedly said it was all a misunderstanding, and for a moment, things cooled down. But that wasn't the end. Later, Cube invited Be Real to the studio to record a guest vocal for Kojin, a group signed to Lench Mob Records. During that session, Be Real heard lines from another song that sounded strikingly similar to lyrics from Temples of Boom. That's when alarm bells went off again.
Would there ever be a world in which you would ever make up with Mack 10 and do another Westside Connection album?
I don't know.
Time will tell.
I don't know.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
According to Be Real, Cube seemed to notice his reaction in the room. When Cube briefly stepped out and then returned, those questionable lines were suddenly gone. To Be Real, that wasn't random. In his eyes, it felt like confirmation that something wasn't right, like he had just caught Cube in the act once again. Cypress Hill played the record one more time, but their answer didn't change. That track was off limits. No swapping songs, no last-minute swaps, no pressure moves. They meant what they said. When the Friday soundtrack finally dropped, just before Temples of Boom, everything seemed calm on the surface. But that peace didn't last long. Out of nowhere, Be Real got a call from a friend who sounded shaken. The question came fast. Did you let Ice Cube use one of your album tracks for Friday? Be Real was caught off guard. He quickly explained that the only song cleared was Roll It Up, Light It Up, Smoke It Up. That was the deal, plain and simple. But his friend wasn't talking about that record. He was pointing to another track on the soundtrack that sounded way too close to Throw Your Set in the Air. At first, Be Real stayed skeptical. He didn't want to accuse anyone without hearing it himself. But once he played Cube's song, his reaction changed instantly. The hook felt almost identical, just slightly reworded. The rhythm, the cadence, the energy, it all felt too familiar to brush off as coincidence. Feeling blindsided, Be Real spoke up about it in the studio, and word spread quickly. The tension eventually made its way back to Ice Cube through Mack 10. Cube reached out directly to Be Real to clear the air. He reportedly framed it as a misunderstanding, saying there was no foul intent. For a moment, things cooled down and the drama seemed to fade. But that calm didn't stick. Later on, Cube invited Be Real to lay down a guest vocal for Caution, a group signed to Lynch Mob Records. During that session, Be Real heard lines from another track that sounded strikingly close to lyrics from Temples of Boom. That's when suspicion hit again, heavy. According to Be Real, Cube appeared to notice his reaction. He stepped out of the room briefly, and when he came back, the lines in question were gone. Just like that. To Be Real, that wasn't random studio editing. In his view, it felt like proof that something had been lifted and quietly corrected once it got noticed. From that point on, the trust was cracked, and the situation carried a whole new edge. At the same time, Ice Cube was dealing with separate tension involving LA artists Cam and Solo, who were locked in a business dispute with him. The situation wasn't just talk either. Things reportedly reached a boiling point when Cube and Solo ran into each other at a traffic light in Los Angeles. What started as words quickly turned into a physical confrontation. According to Solo, the altercation got heated fast, and he claimed he got the upper hand during the fight. In the middle of the scuffle, Cube's chain somehow ended up in Solo's possession. That detail alone made the story explode across the city. Solo didn't keep it low-key either. He later showed up at a Cypress Hill show at the House of Blues and held the chain up in front of the crowd. The reaction was instant. The audience erupted, and photos of the moment started circulating everywhere. It became one of those snapshots that people kept bringing up whenever Cube's name came into a conversation about drama. With tensions already high between Cube, Mack 10, and Cypress Hill, fans started getting nervous. The energy felt unpredictable, and people wondered if things might spill beyond music and pride. Luckily, despite all the heated moments and public displays, the conflict didn't spiral into anything more serious. Cooler heads eventually stepped in, and the situation stayed contained before it crossed a dangerous line. As the tension finally started cooling off, Mack 10 stepped into a role nobody really expected. According to Mack, someone passed him Be Real's number and said Be Real was open to talking. Mack didn't dodge it. He agreed to the call, and when they connected, the conversation was real and straight up. Mack explained that his loyalty to Ice Cube meant he had to stand with him during the feud. That was his code. Even if it meant going against other people he shared street ties with, he felt obligated to back his partner. From his point of view, it wasn't personal, it was principle. To Be Real's credit, he respected that. He reportedly told Mack he understood and wasn't holding a grudge over him riding for Cube. That mutual respect changed the energy completely. That phone call turned into the breakthrough moment. Mack then convinced Ice Cube to get on the phone with Be Real directly. Once they finally spoke man to man, they were able to clear the air and dead the issue for good. Just like that, one of the most intense rap rivalries of that era was officially squashed. Crazy how one real conversation can shift everything, right? If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share this with anyone who remembers that era. Drop a comment below and let me know. Do you think this fallout could have been avoided, or was it always bound to happen?